How are you all feeling out there? Put it in the chat. I love to read all the comments. And just like Scott was teaching us, remember, feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. What is vibration? Vibrational frequency. How you're feeling is your vibrational frequency. It's what you're going to attract into your life, and it comes from your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the emotional mind, okay? So Napoleon Hill says in his incredible book, Grow Rich with Peace of Mind, he says, adversity, it's a tonic, not a stumbling block. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Now, I have lived this. I have lived this. I have evidence, and I'm going to share some of my story with you today, because what I've been through and what I've come through is exactly what Napoleon Hill has taught us. Every adversity in my life carried with it the seed of equal, I will say, even greater benefit. I have turned so much adversity around in my life. And so I'm going to take you back in time and show you a little bit about me and how did I even end up becoming the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Institute. Okay. And so it starts back in Northern Ireland, where I was born. I was born in a little city called Derry City in the north of Ireland. Some of you may have seen the show on Netflix called Derry Girls. And it's like someone followed me around with a camera. Me and my friends, we were up to no good. And so if you ever get a chance to check it out on Netflix. So I was born in Northern Ireland in a little city called Derry. I've been living in the United States for about 24 years now. And so growing up in Ireland, I didn't come from a wealthy family. I came from poverty. You would call it poverty, in today's circumstances. I would consider myself growing up in complete poverty. And as you can see, this is me here on the left. Yes, I colored my hair. And as you can see, if you look closely, everybody had a school uniform except for me and the two little guys next to me, really. We couldn't afford the school uniform. And so you'll also notice I was wearing pants that weren't mine. They came from the neighbors and they were too big for me. So I would roll them up. We would roll them up. And so I remember as a child, feeling different. I remember feeling not worthy. I had no confidence. And, I grew up with my grandmother. Her name was Peggy. I call her Queen Peggy. She has passed on now. My grandmother raised me and my two sisters, and she did the best she could. She was a queen. She was a queen. She had to actually clean toilets for a living. My grandmother, Queen Peggy. And I thank Peggy. I know she's watching me right now. She's my angel. She did the best she could. Okay. My mom had moved to America. My dad disappeared out of my life at the time. And so this is how we lived. We had one small bedroom in this it's called a council house in Derry. And we had nothing. Let me not say that. We had very little. We had very little. And, growing up, we had no table. I had no table to do my homework. There was no real kitchen area. And we all lived in this little bungalow, me, my sisters, and my grandmother, and we shared a room. And we had a big dog, and the dog was called Lucky. I always talk about the dog Lucky because Lucky was really dirty. And and so I still think about Lucky. I used to get really mad at Lucky. But this was our humble upbringing, but we didn't know any better. This was just the way it was. And so I remember thinking to myself as a little girl, and I saw all the other kids going to school and they had uniforms. They had a mom and a dad. And it was heartbreaking for me. I used to cry a lot as a little girl. I used to be sad a lot as a little girl. But what I was really good at was dreaming. I was really good at dreaming. And so I would find myself in my closet, and I would climb up to the top of the closet and shimmy my way up to the top shelf, tiny little closet, and I would draw pictures on the wall. I would draw pictures and I would just dream. And I remember my grandmother used to get mad at me in the morning to go to school. Cliona, stop dreaming. Wake up. We're going to be late for school. Stop dreaming. And I was always called the dreamer. And so I would sit up in my shelf, in my closet, and I had a dream of moving to America one day. That was my dream. And I would draw pictures because I would watch these movies and see all these amazing American families with the white picket fence and the dog and the perfect house. And it used to just really inspire me. I wanted that life. I wanted that life. And so it still till today brings me emotion because of where I've come from and where I am today. And I'll tell you right now, I'm so grateful. I'm so, so grateful. So I made a decision to move to the United States of America at the age of 18. And I applied for my green card. I followed all the rules, filled out all the paperwork. I followed my mom who had moved to New York, and I wanted to reunite with her. I had this fantasy in my mind. It was going to be perfect. I'm going to move to New York. Everything's going to be incredible. And that's not what happened. For 10 years, actually it was more than 10 years, if I add it all up, all of my applications were getting denied. My green card was being denied. Denied, denied, denied. You're missing a piece of paper. You missed your medical records, even though I had sent them in. The next application was denied. They said they didn't receive it. And back then it wasn't the internet. It was all paper. And so for years, I kept my American dream, even though I was living in the country, kept being denied. And so it was adversity after adversity. And as you know, if you don't have a green card in America, you're very limited. You can't just go get a job like everybody else. You're stuck. It's almost like purgatory. You know, one day I have a mission. I will work in immigration somewhere down the line to help improve this process, I'm sure, in the future. But I was waiting in purgatory. I didn't have any rights. And it was painful. And I wanted to give up. I wanted to quit. I got into a very abusive relationship because I had no choices. And the first guy that really, took interest in me, I ended up in a bad relationship. And it went on and off for 7 years. And I thought my American dream was over. I wanted to give up. I wanted to quit. And I wanted to go back to Ireland. But there was something inside of me. There was that inner other self, my soul, that was telling me, don't quit, Cliona. And I remember falling on my knees at the age of 26 or 27. And I was broken. I was broke. I had just left that abusive relationship literally months before. I had no money. I was sitting in my apartment in Brooklyn, New York. I had no money for rent. I had nothing. I was actually getting food from local offices. I had nothing. And I remember getting on my knees and I said, God, tell me what to do. And that was the first time that I really went inwards since I moved to America. I went back. I used to do it as a kid. I remember doing it as a kid, but it was the first time because I was lost in the big city. I said, God, tell me what to do. And I heard very clearly within myself, go serve, Cliona. Go serve. And even saying it now, it still grabs me emotionally because it was so clear as day, that I had to go serve. I had to stop thinking about myself. I had to stop being the victim of circumstances, just like Scott taught us today. I had to stop waving this victim flag, poor me, I'm an immigrant, this and that. And I decided to listen to that inner voice and go serve. And I started saying, well, how am I going to serve? After I had those words come through me, that night, I was invited out for dinner in New York City with friends. I had no money. I got dressed up. I said, I'm going to go out because no one's going to know what's really going on with me. And outside the bathroom in the restaurant, I kid you not, this is what was there. It was the secret. And you heard Scott talk about it today. We have this in common. I found the DVD disc, The Secret, which was also that movie and that book comes from Think and Grow Rich. Okay. I found it. It said The Secret. I took it home to my little apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and I watched it over and over and over. I had been drifting for years. I had no education. I barely finished high school, but I had found the secret. I had found the secret. I became obsessed. From that moment on, I said, why did they not teach us this in school? And as you know, in the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, there's a secret to be found in that book. I had found the secret. No education, no money, but I knew, wow, our thoughts become things? Why did no one teach me this? That our thoughts have power? And so I went on this mission. I was obsessed. And I became, from dreamer, I decided to become a doer. I got out of my victimhood. I got myself, just like the book Think and Grow Rich teaches us, I had a burning desire to get my green card, turn my life around, and I wasn't going to accept anything less. I started, my immigration kept being denied. I had a burning desire, which is some of the principles that Napoleon teaches us, and I had persistence because I'm a stubborn Irish woman. And a shout out to all my Irish women and Irish men, because I was not going to give up. I was not going back to Ireland. I was not going to fail. And so it created this burning desire in me to change my life and to go serve. I started researching, and I hope one day Alejandro Mayorkas, he was the director of immigration. I hope one day to meet you again, my friend. I started researching. I started using my imagination. Saying, how can I get this green card? They keep telling me no. I found out he was the director. Then I started stalking him a little bit. I apologize. And where is he? Where's he going to be? I started sending him letters, mail. He wouldn't respond. And then I found out one day he's going to be in Portland, Oregon. He's going to be opening a new center in Portland, Oregon. I flew there. I went with my friend and I shook his hand, and I had played it in my mind time and time again. I shook his hand. I said, Mr. Mayorkas, please help me get my green card. And I told him my story. He looked me dead in the eye, and he called over the director of that center and he said, get her green card. I had to meet with them. I had to bring some paperwork. Within 6 weeks, I had my green card because I followed these principles. I know now what I did. I know now what I did. After I got my green card, I started a little business because remember, God told me, go serve. God said, go serve. So I thought God was telling me literally, open a customer service business. I thought that was the message. So I opened a customer service center. This was my actual little company that I opened. They were my first employees. We had like these little desks and computers. I remember even painting those walls with them, the purple paint. We did whatever we could do. I started earning some money. I bought another desk. I bought another computer, another chair, and I was doing all this work and I was creating this little business, but I was studying every day. I was studying this material every day. And even these desks, I laugh now when I look at it because they used to fall apart. We bought them on Craigslist and we had to hammer them back together. But we did it. We did it. We took donations of computers and phones and we built it and we built it and we built the company. And then we upgraded to this huge office. We had 10 employees. We had 15, 20, 30, 35, 45 employees. And I grew this company all because of this material. I wouldn't give up. I knew with every adversity would come the seed of equal or greater benefit. I kept my mind on my vision. I kept my mind on my purpose. I kept my mind focused on what God told me go serve. And that's what I did. And then I remember I sold everything. I made my first $1 million. And that's when I decided. I had got married. My marriage, I had a little baby. It didn't work out. And then I was on my knees again. And I said, God, tell me what to do. I had all this money, but now what? What is my purpose? And God, I heard clearly, what do you think God told me to do? Go serve. Go serve Cliona. I said, what am I going to serve this time, God? And I heard, give away what you've gotten. And so I didn't expect myself to get emotional on a live call with you today. But I tell you this is why we're here. We are here to serve our gifts and our talents. And when you learn this material and you learn to live from the inside out with peace of mind, nothing and no one will stop you, my friends. Nothing will stop you. I just feel so grateful that this is what we get to do at the Napoleon Hill Institute. I made a decision that I'm going to spend the rest of my life, mark my words, remember my name, I will never give up. I will never give up. No matter what comes in front of me, I will move it out of the way. I made a decision to become a coach and teach these principles for the rest of my life. And you watch me, I will do it. I will do it with the help of God. I will do it. And that's what I want to invite all of you, because you can do it too. You can do it. This is our purpose. We're here to serve. We're here to serve. I became a coach. I signed up with Bob Proctor. And within 3 years, I became the vice president. I became an inner circle coach. And that's how I got to meet Scott Edwards. These principles brought us together. These principles change lives. And so this is how I started in coaching, and I became obsessed. And I will give it away for the rest of my life, just like Bob did, right up to the age of 87. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I've decided I'm going to live until I'm 110. 110, folks. I set a goal. I got a burning desire. You can feel my burning desire because it's from my heart. It's from my heart. I had a no matter what attitude from poverty. I said, I'm going to get a beautiful apartment in New York City. I'm going to get a beautiful home for my children. And I did. I did everything I put my mind to, everything I set a goal with, because yes, I was obsessed with serving. That's correct, AJ. I was obsessed with serving. I said, God, after Bob, I worked with Bob for several years, and Bob passed in February 2022. And then I said, now what, God? Now what, God? I wanted to work with Bob. I wanted to learn from Bob. And then I got on my knees again. I said, God, tell me what to do. And I heard, go serve. But what I also heard was Napoleon Hill. And as you know, Bob Proctor, who was our late mentor, he carried around the book, Think and Grow Rich. I got in touch with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I started Googling. I didn't know anybody. I made a phone call, and actually Don Green, the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, called me back 2 days later. I left a message. I didn't know who Don Green was. I didn't know anything about the foundation. He called me back and he said, oh, I'm Don Green. I didn't know. I said, listen, I need to talk to a manager or somebody of authority. And he was the executive director and the CEO for over 20 years. And I didn't know who he was. I said, all I know is I need to go serve, and I have to do something with Napoleon Hill. And we started talking, we started working together, we did a few little projects together, and here we are. We're running the Institute 1 year later. And we're just getting started, friends. We're just getting started.